Okay, so now we're going to be working on 4.6, order of operations in complex fractions. We look at this first problem here, we have a couple different parts. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this problem. We have 3 over 4 divided by 9 over 4 plus negative 2 over 3 times 1/3. So let's do 2 at a time. Here we could do these first two. I'm going to show my work on the side. 3 over 4 divided by 9 over 4. Recall that when we divide fractions, we rewrite the first one, change the multiplication, flip the second one. And now we're multiplying, so we just multiply across. Well, I see these 4's cancel, and I see both of these numbers are divisible by 3. 9 divided by 3 changes to 3. 3 divided by 3 changes to 1. And remember, these 4's all change to 1. So I'm left with 1 times 1, which is 1. The bottom, 1 times 3, which is 3. So this fraction is now 1/3. Now I'm going to work on the second part here. The second side of my parentheses. I have negative 2 over 3 times 1 over 3. Here we're just multiplying fractions. A negative times a positive is a negative, so I put a negative side in front. And remember, when we multiply, we just multiply across. Gives me negative 2 over 9. So I bring down my plus sign, and now I have negative 2 over 9. Well, now my last step here would be to add these. I can't add until I get a common denominator. So I multiply here by 3 and the numerator by 3, because 1 times 3 gives me 3 and 3 times 3 gives me 9, giving me similar denominators. So now I can just do the math on the top. My numerators, rewrite my denominator. 3 plus negative 2 gives me a solution of 1/9. So just remember, order of operations, I do within this parentheses first, then that parentheses second, and once I do each of these parentheses, it gives me one fraction there. And then I could sum these up by finding my LCD. Next problem. We have 4 over 5 minus 1 over 2 times 1/3 plus 3/7. Order of operations, we got to do parentheses first. So let's do that on the side. I always like to do the work on the side. That way we just notice our work shrinking down. We can't add until we find the LCD. We find our LCD to be 21. Now multiply by 7 to the first fraction. Second fraction, multiply by 3. Therefore give me 7 over 21 plus 9 over 21. And now I can add this. 7 plus 9 over 21, which gives me 16 over 21. So this gets changed to 16 over 21. Keeping it in parentheses, and I'm writing everything else. Now, what do we have here? I have subtraction and multiplication, so I have to do this next. Ignoring the minus sign, just do 1/2 times 16 over 21. We're multiplying fractions, so we can just multiply across. I want you to notice that 16 and 2 are both divisible by 2. 2 is divisible by 2 one time. 16 is divisible by 2 8 times. So that changes to 8 over 21. So now I can replace that work with 8 over 21, bring everything else down. Next step here is going to be to subtract. So what I'll do here, because this 5 and 21 are big, I'll just multiply by 21. Multiply by 5. And when we do 21 times 4, I get 84. I do 21 times 5, I get 105. 8 times 5 is 40 over 105. Come over and bring the work over here. So I get 84 minus 40 over 105. When we subtract that, we get 44 over 105. And we will see here that we will no longer be able to break this up anymore. So that is our solution there. Quite a bit of work, as you could tell, but let's just take it one step at a time. The first thing I did was work within this parentheses. Got 16 over 21, brought it back here. Rewrote everything else. Multiplied 1/2 and 16 over 21. Got 8 over 21. Brought that down here. Brought the minus sign, 4/5. Now I have a denominator, 5 and 21. Trying to find an LCD. Because these numbers are so big, remember the second we also learned a method we could just multiply by those denominators. Common denominator, now we can just subtract. So that was number 7. Or number 9, I'm sorry. Number 10. Let's look at 10. Everyone's favorite. We have 2 over 9 to the power of 3 times 7 over 8 minus 1/2 minus 4 over 3 times 1/12. A great problem. You'll probably see that on the test, so make sure you guys work this out a few times. So, order of operations, we're going to do the parentheses. So let's go ahead and do this first. I'm going to do that on the side. 7 over 8 minus 1/2. Well, our LCD here, we can't subtract unless we have an LCD. We see it to be 4 or 8. So multiply the second fraction by 4. We'll get 7 over 8 minus 4 over 8, which gives us what? 7 minus 4. 5 over 8. Replace that by 5/8, put in parentheses, and just rewrite everything else. So now, next thing we see is exponents. So we're going to do this second. Well, 2 to the 9th to the power of 3, we know is 2 times 2 times 2 over 9 times 9 times 9, which gives us a big number like 8 over, well, 9 times 9 times 9 is 729. So that's going to get replaced with 8 over 729. You can still keep that in parentheses if you want and rewrite everything else. So now we see multiplication, subtraction, and multiplication. So let's go ahead and multiply these two. Put this work over here. That's 8 over 729 times 5 over 8. Well, we know we're just going to be multiplying across. Well, we see 8 on the top and bottom, so we're left with just 5 over 729. So let's write that down here. Here we see multiplication as well, so let's multiply that. You get 4 over 3 times 1 over 12. We know we're multiplying, so it's 4 times 1, 3 times 12. Well, 4 and 12 are both divisible by 4. 4 divisible by 4 one time. 12 divisible by 4 3 times. So I get 1/9. Let's just write that right here. Now we see we can't subtract unless we find the LCD. Well, these numbers are pretty different, but let's see if 729 is divisible by 9. It sure is. We see that if we multiply 9 by 81, it gives us 729. So now I get 5 minus 81, because 1 times 8 is 81, over 729. And when I subtract 5 minus 81, I get a big number like 76 over 729. And this is a number that we try to reduce. We will see that it will not reduce. So we get that as our answer. No, it looks big, but that's okay. This next one, a nice problem. It says a rectangle 7/10 miles long, 1/4 mile wide. How much fencing is needed? And they tell us to use this formula. We've seen this formula before in chapter 2. P equals 2L plus 2W. We're finding the parameter. So 2 times my length, which is 7 over 10, plus 2 times my width, which is 1 over 4. Remember, we can make this 2 into a fraction by putting it over 1. Same thing over here, 2 over 1 times 1/4. And now we just multiply. 2 times 7 over 1 times 10, plus 2 times 1 over 1 times 4. Before you multiply, you see that you can divide both of those by 2. That changes to 1. That changes to 5. Same thing over here. Changes to 1. That changes to 2. We're left with 7 over 5 plus 1 over 2. I'm going to bring this work up here. We see we can add until we get an LCD, which here will be 10. So we multiply this one by 2. We multiply the second fraction by 5. So it was 14 over 10 plus 5 over 10. In other words, 19 over 10. Let's check if we could leave it like this. It says type of fraction or a mixed number. Here we see this is an improper fraction, nonetheless a fraction, so it does not need to be changed. So remember, one thing that I've seen students do is try to square this. It's just 2 times the length and 2 times the width. If you write your 2 as a fraction by putting it over 1, same thing with this 2, put it over 1. Now we're just multiplying these 2 fractions, multiplying those 2 fractions. And before I multiply and get a bigger number like 14, I see that 2 and 10 are both divisible by 2, so I just reduce those. Same thing over here. And number 15. Remember, this is just a form of division. So go ahead and just rewrite it like 3 over 4 squared divided by -9 over 5 squared. You know you're going to change, and let's do this now. That's telling us we have 2 of them. 3 times 3 over 4 times 4 divided by, well, negative 9/5 squared, negative times negative is a positive. So just I'm going to ignore the sign, do 9 times 9, 5 times 5. You notice here I have yet to multiply. The reason is because we start getting numbers, so let's wait towards the end. And let's just follow our rules. We're dividing fractions, so now we know we change division to multiplication. Flip the second fraction. And let's just put everything over one fraction. 3 times 3 times 5 times 5 over 4 times 4 times 9 times 9. One thing that I want you to notice was 3 times 3. 9. So we cancel both of those off with a 9. And you notice we won't be able to cancel anything else. So we're left with 25 over, on the bottom we left 4 times 4 times 9. Which gives us a solution of 144. This could be a very easy problem if you work it out this way. If you try multiplying everything right away, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So go ahead and take your time and just remember all your rules. No reason to rush this problem.